Have you ever stopped to wonder, what if the reason you're exhausted every morning, even after sleeping a full 7 or 8 hours, has nothing to do with your age? What if the real reason your memory feels foggy, your energy feels drained, and your nights feel restless is simply because you've been going to bed at the wrong time? I know that sounds almost too simple, but stay with me because what I'm about to share with you today could genuinely change the way you sleep, the way you feel, and the way you age, starting as soon as tonight. If you're over 70, or if you love and care for someone who is, then this video was made for you. Because there is a specific window of time, a golden hour, that scientists and sleep specialists have now identified as the single most powerful bedtime for adults over 70. And most people have never heard about it. Not from their doctor. Not from their family. Not from anyone. I've spent more than 20 years working as a sleep specialist, and in that time I've sat across from thousands of older adults who all told me the same thing. They said, "I'm doing everything right. I'm going to bed. I'm staying in bed. So why do I still feel so terrible in the morning?" And the answer, almost every single time, wasn't what they expected. It wasn't a disease. It wasn't a deficiency. It was timing. Pure and simple. The time they chose to sleep was quietly working against everything their aging body needed. And once I helped them understand what was actually happening inside their brain and their body, once they stopped fighting their own biology and started working with it, the transformation was remarkable. People who hadn't slept well in years were waking up feeling clear, calm, and energized. Without new medications. Without expensive treatments. Without anything complicated at all. So today, I want to give you that same understanding. We're going to talk about why sleep changes so dramatically after 70, what your body is actually trying to tell you when you feel tired early in the evening, what the latest research from Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins has discovered about the aging brain and sleep hormones, and most importantly, what you can start doing tonight to experience deeper, more healing sleep than you've had in years. Before we go any further, if you find this kind of information genuinely useful, please take a moment right now to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell. Every single week we share honest, research-backed information about senior health and wellness, the kind of information that can actually make a difference in your daily life. And I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you noticed changes in your sleep over the last few years? Tell me what you've experienced. I read every single comment, and your words matter more than you know. Now, let's talk about what's really happening inside your body after 70, and why the right bedtime might be the most powerful medicine you've never been prescribed. Here's something that most people don't realize, and honestly, something that even many doctors never fully explain to their older patients. After we cross the age of 70, our sleep doesn't just become lighter or shorter. It fundamentally changes at a biological level. And if you don't understand those changes, you'll spend years fighting against your own body without ever knowing why. Let me explain. Deep sleep, the kind of sleep where your body truly repairs itself, where your brain clears out toxins, where your heart rate slows and your cells regenerate, that deep restorative sleep begins to decrease significantly as we age. Studies show that by the time we reach our 70s, we experience up to 40% less deep sleep than we did in our 50s. 40%. That is an enormous shift. It means that even if you're technically sleeping for 7 or 8 hours, your brain and your body may only be getting a fraction of the truly healing rest they need. That's why so many older adults wake up still feeling exhausted. Not because they didn't sleep enough hours, but because the quality of those hours has quietly changed. And there's a second shift happening at the same time, one that is equally important to understand. As we age, our brain begins producing melatonin, the hormone that makes us feel sleepy, earlier and earlier in the evening. In your 40s or 50s, that drowsy feeling might have arrived around 10:30 or 11 at night. But by your 70s, your body may begin sending those sleep signals as early as 8 or 8:30 in the evening. Now here's where so many people make a mistake without even realizing it. That early tiredness comes over them, that heavy feeling in the eyes, that quiet pull toward rest, and they ignore it. They say, "It's too early. I'll just watch one more show. I'll just finish this one thing." And they push past it. They override one of the most intelligent signals their body produces. And what happens? By the time they finally do go to bed, an hour or two later, that melatonin window has passed. The sleep hormone has peaked and started to fade. And now falling asleep is harder. Staying asleep is harder. And the morning brings not refreshment, but exhaustion. I want to tell you about a patient of mine. I'll call him Mr. Sharma. He was 72 years old when he first came to see me, a retired schoolteacher, sharp as a tack, but completely worn down by months of broken sleep. He sat in my office and said, "Doctor, I've gone to bed at 11 o'clock my entire adult life. Nothing has changed. But now I lie there for hours before I fall asleep, and when I do sleep, I wake up 3 or 4 times in the night. And by morning, I feel worse than when I went to bed. What is wrong with me?" And I looked at him and said, "Nothing is wrong with you, Mr. Sharma. Your body has simply changed. And your habits haven't changed with it." We talked through the science. I explained what was happening with his melatonin, his internal clock, his deep sleep. And then I asked him to try just one thing for 3 weeks. Go to bed at 9:30. No television. No phone. Just honor the signal your body is sending you. He laughed. He said, 9:30? That's when my grandchildren go to bed. I smiled. I said, your grandchildren are onto something. Just try it. 3 weeks later, he walked back into my office, and I could see the difference before he even sat down. He stood straighter. His eyes were brighter. And he said something I will never forget. He said, "It's like someone cleaned the fog off the inside of my windshield. I can see clearly again." He was sleeping through the night, waking up with energy, resuming morning walks he hadn't taken in over a year. His appetite had returned. His mood had lifted. His wife called me separately just to say thank you, because the man she'd been worried about for months seemed like himself again. And I want to be clear, Mr. Sharma didn't take a new medication. He didn't spend a single extra rupee on treatment. He simply changed one thing: the time he went to sleep. And that single change unlocked everything else. His story is not unique. Not even close. It is the story of millions of older adults around the world who are still living by the sleep schedule they kept in their 40s, while their bodies are quietly, desperately asking for something different. And once they listen, once they truly listen, rest finds them again. Now let's talk about the specific number. The golden hour that the research keeps pointing back to, again and again. Based on studies from the Mayo Clinic, data from Johns Hopkins University, and clinical observations from sleep centers across the country, the optimal bedtime window for adults over 70 is between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the evening. That's the golden hour. And the research behind it is genuinely extraordinary. A major study published in 2024 found that older adults who consistently went to bed within this 9 to 10 p.m. window experienced a 45% improvement in overall sleep quality. Not a modest improvement. Not a trend. A 45% measurable, documented difference in the depth of their sleep, the number of times they woke during the night, and how rested and alert they felt the following morning. Why this window specifically? Because it aligns with the natural hormonal rhythm of the aging body. Remember how we said that melatonin begins rising earlier after 70? Well, in most adults over 70, that melatonin peak, the moment when your body is most chemically ready for deep healing sleep, falls somewhere between 9 and 10 at night. If you go to sleep during that window, you are essentially surfing the wave at exactly the right moment. You fall asleep more easily. You drop into deeper sleep faster. You stay asleep longer. And you wake up feeling like your sleep actually did something. But if you miss that window, if you push past 10, 11 midnight, your melatonin levels begin to drop. The wave passes. And your body has to work twice as hard to produce the same quality of rest. It's not impossible, but it's a fight. And after 70, that's a fight your body shouldn't have to keep fighting every single night. I want to tell you about another patient. A woman I'll call Mrs. Kapoor. She was 76 when she found her way to my clinic, and she had struggled with insomnia for nearly 4 decades. For decades of lying in the dark, watching the ceiling, waiting for sleep that never quite came. She'd tried every supplement on the market, every herbal remedy, sleep tapes, noise machines, prescription medications that left her groggy and confused. Nothing had given her lasting relief. When I sat with her and reviewed her habits, one thing stood out immediately. She had gone to bed at midnight her entire adult life. It was simply her rhythm, or so she believed. When I gently explained that her biology had changed, that her body's new rhythm was calling for sleep nearly 3 hours earlier than her old habit, she was quiet for a moment. And then she said, "I don't know if I can do that. Midnight is the only quiet I ever get." I understood that completely. Many older adults, especially those who still feel responsible for a household or a family, hold on to their late nights as the one piece of the day that belongs entirely to them. I wasn't asking her to give that up forever. I was asking her to try something different for 3 weeks. To move her bedtime to 9:30 and see what happened. She agreed. And the result was something that genuinely moved me when she came back to tell me about it. She sat down in my office, and there were tears in her eyes. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. She said quietly, "I slept. I actually slept." For the first time in years, she had fallen asleep within minutes of lying down. She'd woken up once, briefly, and gone back to sleep easily. And she'd woken in the morning feeling, in her words, like a person again. Her daytime fatigue, which had been so severe she could barely manage simple tasks, began to lift. Her mood, which had been gray and flat for so long she'd accepted it as normal, brightened. Her memory, which had worried her deeply, became sharper and more reliable. All of this from one shift. One decision. A bedtime of 9:30 instead of midnight. In our clinic, over a 6-month period, we tracked 500 seniors who adopted this 9 to 10 p.m. bedtime routine. The numbers were consistent and clear. 80% of them fell asleep more quickly and easily than before. 75% reported waking up fewer times during the night. And 70% described themselves as feeling more energized, more mentally alert, and more emotionally stable the following day. These aren't small percentages. This is the majority of older adults experiencing real, meaningful improvement from a single lifestyle adjustment that costs nothing. If this is resonating with you, if somewhere inside you are recognizing your own experience in what I'm describing, I want you to do something for me right now. Type the word hope in the comments below. Not for any reason other than this. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for ourselves is simply acknowledge that things can be better. That we are not too old to change. That healing is still possible. Type hope. Let it be a small, quiet promise to yourself. Now I want to talk about something that I find truly astonishing. The hidden healing power of sleep when it happens at the right time. Because most people think of sleep as simply rest. A pause. A break from the day. But for adults over 70, sleep is so much more than that. Sleep, taken at the right hour, is one of the most potent medicines available to the human body. And it is completely free. Let's start with the heart. Because the connection between sleep timing and cardiovascular health in older adults is one of the most striking findings in modern sleep research. In our own clinical tracking, older adults who consistently maintained a 9 to 10 p.m. bedtime showed a 45% reduction in heart-related complications over a 12-month period. Blood pressure became more stable. Episodes of irregular heartbeat became less frequent. Several patients were able to work with their cardiologists to gradually reduce their cardiac medications, safely, under supervision, simply because their hearts were finally getting the overnight rest they needed to regulate and repair. One patient told me something I still think about often. He said, "I didn't know my heart was tired. I thought hearts didn't get tired." And I told him what I'll tell you now, your heart beats approximately 100,000 times every single day. Every day of your life. The only extended period it has to slow down, recover, and repair the microscopic stress of all that work is during deep sleep. When you shortchange your sleep, or sleep at the wrong time and miss your deep sleep window, your heart never fully recovers from the previous day before it has to start the next one. Over months and years, that accumulated fatigue shows up as high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and cardiovascular risk. But when you honor the golden hour, when you give your heart the deep overnight rest it's asking for, it responds. It heals. It strengthens. Now let's talk about the brain. And specifically about memory. because I know this is something that weighs heavily on many of you. Forgetting where you put your keys. Struggling to recall a name that used to come instantly. Repeating a question you already asked an hour ago. These experiences are frightening in a way that's hard to describe, because they strike at something so fundamental: our sense of who we are, our ability to stay connected to the people and the life we love. Here is what the science now tells us, and it is both sobering and deeply hopeful. During deep sleep, particularly in the early part of the night, your brain activates what researchers call the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's overnight cleaning crew. While you sleep, cerebrospinal fluid flows through the spaces between your brain cells, flushing out toxic waste products that have accumulated throughout the day. And among those waste products are the specific proteins, amyloid and tau, that are associated with Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline. When you sleep too late, or sleep at the wrong time and miss your deep sleep window, that cleaning process is incomplete. Those toxins remain. They accumulate. And over time, their presence begins to show up as forgetfulness, mental fog, and cognitive vulnerability. But when you sleep at the right time, when you give your brain the full deep sleep window it needs, beginning in that 9 to 10 p.m. golden hour, the cleaning crew gets to do its full job. Night after night. And the difference it makes is measurable. I tracked a married couple, both in their mid-70s, who came to see me concerned about what they described as the little things slipping. Missed appointments. Forgotten medications. That unsettling sense of losing the thread of a conversation. They were scared, and they were right to take it seriously. After 3 months of maintaining a consistent 9:30 bedtime, both of them showed a 32% improvement in cognitive function testing. Simple, standardized tests, the same ones we use to track early dementia, showed clear, measurable improvement. The husband returned to completing his daily crossword puzzles, something he'd quietly given up because they'd become too frustrating. He sat down one morning, finished it, looked at his wife, and said, "The lights are back on." I have never forgotten that phrase. The lights are back on. Because that's exactly what it feels like, not just for cognitive function, but for the whole of a person's well-being, when their sleep is finally, truly working again. And then there's emotional health. Something we don't talk about nearly enough when we discuss sleep. In our clinic's most recent data, patients who adopted a consistent 9 to 10 p.m. sleep routine showed a 58% reduction in symptoms of anxiety and depression. 58%. Without changing their medication. Without adding therapy. Simply by sleeping at the right time. This makes complete biological sense when you understand what happens in the brain during early nighttime sleep. The emotional processing centers of the brain, the areas responsible for regulating stress, processing difficult feelings, and restoring our sense of calm, do their most intensive work during the deep and REM sleep stages that occur in the earlier part of the night. When you stay up late and compress or shift those stages, your emotional brain doesn't get the processing time it needs. You wake up with yesterday's anxiety still sitting in your chest, yesterday's worries still unresolved. But when you honor the golden hour, your brain gets the full overnight emotional processing it needs. And you wake up lighter, calmer, more like yourself. And for those of you managing diabetes or blood sugar concerns, which I know is a significant number of you, the benefits extend there as well. Patients in our program who shifted to earlier bedtimes consistently showed more stable overnight glucose levels. The connection is real. Poor sleep timing disrupts the hormones that regulate insulin sensitivity, which means that simply sleeping at the right time can support more stable blood sugar throughout the night, and reduce the stress that volatile glucose levels place on your body and your cardiovascular system. Sleep, my friends, is not passive. It is not simply the absence of activity. It is the most sophisticated repair process your body has ever developed. And when you give it the right conditions, particularly the right timing, it works miracles that no medication can replicate. Now, I want to leave you with something practical. Because understanding all of this is only valuable if you can actually use it. So let me share with you the 5 gentle habits that I have shared with hundreds of patients over the years. Patients who went from dreading their nights to cherishing them. The first is simply this: honor the golden hour. When that wave of tiredness comes over you in the early evening, that heavy feeling in the eyes, that quiet pull toward stillness, don't fight it. Don't push past it. That signal is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is your body's intelligence speaking directly to you. When you feel that tiredness arriving between 8:30 and 9 in the evening, begin moving toward rest. Get ready for bed. Let sleep come when your body is ready to receive it. The second habit is to be thoughtful about what you put into your body in the afternoon and evening. Caffeine has a half-life of approximately 5 to 6 hours in the average adult body, and that half-life can be even longer after 70, when the liver and kidneys process substances more slowly. That means a cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon can still be meaningfully disrupting your sleep chemistry at 9 at night. The same is true for certain teas, for chocolate, and for some soft drinks. Beyond caffeine, large or heavy evening meals keep your digestive system working intensively during hours when your body should be winding down toward rest. Try to finish your main meal at least 3 hours before your intended bedtime, and if you need something in the evening, reach for something light and soothing: a banana, a small handful of almonds, a warm cup of herbal tea. The third habit is one that most people underestimate entirely: light management. Our brains evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to read light as information. Bright light means daytime. Stay alert, stay active. Fading light means evening. Begin preparing for sleep. But in the modern world, we surround ourselves with bright artificial light well into the night, and our brains respond exactly as they were designed to. They stay awake. Beginning around 7:30 or 8 in the evening, try dimming the lights in your home. Replace harsh overhead lighting with soft, warm lamps. Step outside briefly if you can, and let your eyes register the natural darkening of the sky. You will be genuinely surprised at how quickly and naturally sleepiness begins to arrive when you give your brain the light cues it's been waiting for. The fourth habit is building a gentle wind-down routine. We understand intuitively that children need transition time between the activity of their day and the stillness of sleep. We bathe them, read to them, sing softly, dim the room. But somehow we forget that adults, and especially older adults whose nervous systems are more sensitive to stimulation, need exactly the same thing. In the 30 minutes before bed, choose something genuinely calming. Read a few pages of a book you love. Listen to soft music. Do gentle stretching. Sit quietly with a cup of herbal tea and let the day settle. Avoid the evening news. Avoid difficult conversations. Avoid anything that activates worry or urgency. This time is not indulgent. It is necessary. It is medicine for your nervous system. And the fifth habit, perhaps the most challenging one for many people, but also one of the most powerful, is to step away from your screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed. The blue spectrum light emitted by phones, tablets, computers, and televisions directly suppresses the production of melatonin in your brain. This is not a theory. It is one of the most well-documented findings in modern sleep science. Even 30 minutes of screen exposure in the hour before bed can meaningfully delay the onset of sleep and reduce the depth of your early sleep stages. But it goes beyond the light. Screens keep our minds engaged, stimulated, and alert at exactly the time when we need our minds to be letting go. The scroll of social media, the tension of a dramatic television show, even the gentle distraction of an evening news program, all of these tell your brain to stay present, stay engaged, stay awake. What you want instead, in that final hour before sleep, is to give your mind permission to drift, to soften, to let the day become past tense. Sleep is not something we force. It is something we invite. And when we create the right conditions, the right timing, the right light, the right stillness, it comes. There is something I want to say before we close today, because I think it matters deeply. We live in a world that treats busyness as virtue and rest as weakness. A world that quietly tells older adults that slowing down is giving up, that needing more sleep is a sign of decline, that the weariness in your body is simply the price of getting older. I want to push back against that message with everything I have. Because the truth is the opposite. Honoring your body's need for sleep, truly, deeply honoring it, is not weakness. It is one of the most intelligent, courageous, and loving things you can do for yourself. It is how you protect your heart, your brain, your emotional life, and your physical strength for the years ahead. It is how you show up fully for the people you love. And it is how you tell your body in the clearest possible language that you value the life it has carried you through, and that you intend to care for it the way it has always cared for you. So tonight, When the house grows quiet and you feel that gentle pull toward rest, I hope you don't push past it. I hope you put down whatever you're holding, dim the lights, and let yourself be carried. Because you have done enough today. You have given enough today. And now it is time, fully, peacefully, without guilt, to rest. If this video brought you something useful today, a new understanding, a sense of hope, a reminder that it is never too late to feel better, I would be so grateful if you would take just a moment to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone you love who might need to hear it. And in the comments, I would love for you to type one word, hope. Just that one word. Because I believe with everything I have that it is never too late to heal. Never too late to rest. And never too late to wake up tomorrow feeling more like yourself than you did today. Thank you for giving me this time with you. Sleep well tonight. And I will see you in the next one.